how a pseudo-love guru, and his name is Kevin Samuels, exploits the vulnerabilities of Black women. And this is not uncommon. This happens a lot on YouTube, um, Instagram, Facebook, many popular social media sites, Twitter. So this was written by an Eartha Hopkins, and this just came out. So there's a popular YouTube channel, and he's the love guru, Kevin Samuels, and he's very misogynistic in how he views Black women in terms of being rated um, on a scale for these quote unquote high valued males or high valued Black men. So the opinion piece that was written, which was so greatly written, and you have to actually look at the YouTube channel. He has a lot of subscribers. Some may be spectating and looking at the drama, and then others may actually follow this guru of love and pretty much run their lives, listen to what he says and run their lives as if he is some type of god of love and relationship consultant. And let's get into this article. It's basically an opinion piece, and everybody has their right of opinions, and so do I, but I'm just merely reading this, and I actually got a chance to sit down and view some of Kevin Samuel's content. And right off the bat, I could tell it was just a dressed up version of some of the other videos that I've seen that are more uh, violent in nature when it comes to their perspective on Black relationships. So, in a racist white supremacist environment, Samuel's assertion only affirms the Anglo-Saxon ideology using Black women as the scapegoat. And so, Kevin Samuels is a YouTube sensation and self-appointed professional image consultant. So his meteoric rise to fame on social media arose from his slick-tongued comments aimed at, in particular, Black women. So his advice to modern Black women searching for a high-valued man mixes hard truths with a dose of entertainment. So his platform opens a space for much needed conversations addressing women's accountability in relationships. However, his framework is rooted in an imperialistic worldview that subtly reinforces anti-Blackness. Like so many YouTube experts before him, he exploits the pain and vulnerability of Black women and their quest for love while the world watches for recreation. And so on his platform, Kevin Samuel says that his perspective represents the modern high-valued Black male while cautioning women opposing this perspective. So in a racist white supremacist environment, Kevin Samuel's assertion only affirmed an Anglo-Saxon ideology using Black women as an easy scapegoat. So this is Kevin Samuels. You'll see him pictured here on one of his many multiple YouTube clips, and I'm not going to actually show this, but because it has a length to it. Um, But basically, it goes into the unrealistic expectations. So Samuel maintains that, quote unquote, the market defines a high valued man by six core principles: a man's ability to make at least $10,000 monthly for at least 5 years, the acceptance from a group of other high valued men, access to a network like a fraternity, high visibility of a man's position and utility of that group. So the caveat is that his definition makes former Vice President Donald Trump look like a promising suitor. Okay. So suppose black women take his advice at face value. So in that case, it creates an unrealistic aspiration of seeking this high valued man or high valued black male partner, with the median income for black men being $814 a week and earning that and no less. And the only 10% of America's total population of men earning six figures. That's the reality of it. And so, not to mention, incarceration rates for black men have doubled that of white men in the US, and it's nearly impossible for these men to qualify for the remaining principles. So that's what makes this whole ideology unrealistic. So rather than use these statistics as a guiding post to compel black women to reframe their definitions and expectations of potential black male mates, he instead uses women's desire for stability by comparing black men against a white male standard, labeling lower earners as average. So if you get a male that doesn't make $10,000 a month and he makes less than that, or he can't make $814 a week, then he is not looked at as a high valued male, and it has to be legal money, not illegal money. So let me express that there, because it looks as though he's looking at men who actually have um, either maybe a business or they have established themselves in a career, and it's stable, and so you have to be earning these type of figures of six figures, and it has to be steady income for a period of 5 to 6 years. And so this is someone who has a clean slate and they're a high income earner, and they're earning their money on the legal spectrum, in other words. That's the perception I'm getting. And so this writer is basically pointing out some of the reality of all of this is not the case in what we deal with in our world today. Suppose black women, it says, take his advice at face value. So you won't find all of these males that can fit this persona. So they would automatically be deemed as either rejected, or they're not a high valued male, or they're average. And so that's where they get the word average in there. So this basic premise places black men in a seemingly undesirable position by default, while leading women down a dead end path to seek an unrealistic minority of a male population. And so objectification of women. Now this is where it gets into basically belittling and making women look bad. So, to add fuel to this fire, Kevin Samuels ranks his guests using his coin term, their sexual marketplace value. And so, the basis of their attractiveness on height and weight and dress size, he emphasizes that in his video, and their physical features. So, this is looking at, instead of looking at the person's heart and their goals and intentions and aspirations, more looking at the superficial uh, ness of the person, how they look, how they dress, how just their vanity, their physical features and whatnot, and their weight and their dress size. How tall are they? How short are they? Um, so he gets into that, and if to his belief a woman is below average or an 8 or less on a 10-point scale, he suggests that they lower their standards. So if you're a low average in his view on a 10-point scale, if you're an 8 or less than that on a 10-point scale, then you lower your attraction to a man that isn't looked at as a high value man, to settle for men deemed as the average man or worse, less than average, to meet their personal and relational needs. So, in one video, Samuels compares the black woman's physique. Now, this is if you are over 120 pounds and you're over a certain weight. He labels the physique of a black woman to a former NFL linebacker Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders, claiming that her weight reduces her options for companionship. So basically, he's body shaming and belittling women on their weight size, based on their height or how they look, and all of everything else. So you're a running back size. This is coming from Kevin Samuels. You could get an A gap like a motherfucker. That's the way he pronounced it. Sorry for the theatrics in the language, but this is his flavor when he speaks. So, in terms of labeling how women look if they are over 120 pounds. So don't come up here talking about what men can and cannot do when they get to accept somebody, when they got to accept somebody who could run out the power eye. And so he facetiously continues. And so you should be so grateful that a high valued man would pick you over a woman who is 5'4" and 120 pounds and a dress size 4. He emphasizes that um, many times. I say he said it when I looked at this video. He said it more than like maybe uh, 2 or 3 times, and probably more. And so that his seems like that's the main emphasis of his premise on how a woman should look. And so this goes into the misogynoir of it. So this tough love advice oozes misogynoir, amplifying a historically racist and westernized view of beauty that only serves to and demean black women, basically. And if that were not indicative enough of how his Eurocentric perspective leaves black women open for attack, his hyper focus on surface discourse surely seals the deal. So he consistently perpetuates clickbait conversations that incite reality TV escape squabbles. And so that's where the entertainment comes in. People get in on these conversations and they kind of, observe the dialogue that can get heated. And it's almost like this clickbait debates that he has that is made for like almost like reality TV. And so they get into these squabbles over how people should live their lives and how they should look in order to uh, get into these relationships with these high value males. So, but it is unable to properly acknowledge white supremacy as a driving force behind this divisiveness. Instead, he plays the trope role of the antagonist against black women. So, in the same breath, Kevin Samuels casually references the author Shahrazad Ali's book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding Black Women to Discipline Women's Behavior. He really puts emphasis on women being submissive to males. And then he says he quickly follows, simultaneously encouraging black women to follow white women's lead and allow their high valued men to explore options of multiple mistresses. So basically, he's encouraging women to follow, black women should follow white women's lead and allow your black men to cheat, have multiple women, and you have to please him and allow him to have multiple women. So let's be clear here. That's what he's basically saying. So his short sightedness concerning the impact of racism seemingly aims only to blame and oppress people for being oppressed, citing black people's need to become a more competitive people while accusing black people of remaining in this victimhood culture, he claims. So Samuel recently appeared as a guest on what is called a Lapif, and it's called Let's Talk Show. Okay, and so where he provided his insight on women feeling pressure to showcase their natural beauty. And when asked about racism, he replied, "It's not about racism, it's about the winners and the losers." And so he has this persona that he's this high class male and high valued male and high income earner, which he probably earns a good part of money, and most of that money is coming from the PayPal site that he has from people looking at his videos and giving him donations. So he's a snake oil salesman, in my view. And this is what usually sells in the black community of people who tend to be gravitating towards this type of talk, not really knowing underlying all of this, that with the suit he's wearing and the backdrop and the way he talks and the way he prides himself on belittling black females and pressing them to be like, and to just basically don't be black, follow white women's lead, be white, and then you'll be this high class female. And so he's also tells one of the women in his video that if she doesn't like the fact that men that the woman needs to please the man while he has all these multiple mistresses, then she should not be with a high valued man. She should just get a dog. This is the way he said, die alone or get a girl. And he said that in one of his videos. Now, I believe, let me tell you which video it was that he said that. It was this video that says Kevin Samuels calls women linebacker. So that was the one where he basically referred to women as linebackers if they weighed more than 120 pounds. So toxic masculinity, Kevin Samuels is a poster child for a group of black men in dire need of love and acceptance from the world. So his bootstrap rhetoric screams pick me from the white men who clearly have no interest in doing so. And so he serves Uncle Ruckus vibes on a platter, using his every statistic he can to project his own internalized self-hatred. And so it's absolutely egregious and dangerous that this man, who has been on the planet for more than half a century, would probably encourage assimilation as a viable solution to a relationship woes between black women and black men of today. If he is the godfather responsible for leading the new wave of black male masculinity, it would seem odd that his first victims would be black women who even today are his greatest allies. So, false expertise. Now, listen to this. Another problematic aspect of Kevin Samuels' premise is the fact that he is claiming expertise on a topic that he clearly is unqualified to address. So, according to his LinkedIn profile, he studied chemical engineering and had a series of sale roles before becoming an image consultant. Okay, so this is his. I look like a profile setting of him. Okay, so with no background in marriage and relationship therapy, psychology, gender related issues, or any relevant to his platform, he spews out advice devoid of social context. And so he blatantly ignores gender and racial socialization and refuses to address the history of racist, sexist ideas or the role of societal oppression in the way black women are viewed. He perpetuates deep seated myths, stereotypes about black women as inherently flawed and lacking value outside of their sex appeal. So he really puts black women down. He's another one, but he's just a lot more dressed up and fancy with it. And he's got a following, a huge following on YouTube. So Samuels uses a distorted, uninformed lens to spread a harmful agenda. And so by doing so, this he joins the ranks of the other fake relationship experts who lack actual expertise but who have a lot to say about black women, what they need to do in order to get this man or get the black man. So, in an image in which anyone can get a platform no matter how unqualified they are, men such as Samuels, Kevin Samuels, that is, are profiting off of racist and sexist narratives that justify the mistreatment of black women. So, internalized hatred. It goes into when black women allow pseudo relationship gurus like Kevin Samuels himself and others to determine their worth or value and potential as a partner by white standards, they open themselves up to continuous self infliction, tragic self esteem levels, and quite frankly, decision making rooted in predominantly opinion based information rather than facts. So when it comes to love, unfortunately, there is no Eurocentric rubric capable of quantifying this. So one must consider the source of any given advice. Is this source adequately educated? Does the source have necessary cultural lens and experience to provide consultation? And have they themselves healed internal trauma to project others down the right path of love? So these are some hard questions you'd have to ask before considering listening to the advice of people who basically aren't qualified. And I believe that this man, he is just dressed up. He's basically doing the same things that some of the other ones that we've seen on YouTube were a lot more violent and visceral. He's just doing it in a smooth, slick way, and he's wearing suits and ties, and he has a nice little backdrop on his pages, and he proclaims to be this guru of love, but basically he's putting black women down. It's just a fancy way of doing it. He's just got another way of doing it, and his other ulterior motive is to get suckers to pay him on PayPal. Because if you look at his page, he has Instagram, Facebook, I think he has Twitter, and then he has YouTube, and then he has a PayPal account, so that you can give him donation to spew out this misogynistic, toxic masculinity rhetoric. And so that's pretty much how that goes on that end. So it's hard to tell. Going back to this article, this is the author of the article pictured here. Um, it says it's hard to tell when advice is sought from an overnight Instagram and YouTube celebrity who may fizzle out of fame once he faces his own internal demons. just like many others. So this is Eartha Hopkins, who is an alumni of Ohio State University, born a pen chat with a pen chat for storytelling, lifestyle, beauty journalist, offers a distinct voice with a goal to inspire her generation to live authentically. Be sure to catch her 2 cents on the website. She has a website and Instagram at Eartha Hopkins. And so anybody that has been following Kevin Samuels, you will be able to see the videos that he puts out, which he's not violent in his videos, but there's violence that could happen in relationships people who listen to his content and take it for face value and live their lives based on hearsay or what somebody's saying. And his real goal is, this is how he makes his 10,000 a month, off of people who are naive and are indoctrinated in his male misogynistic, uh, toxic masculinity beliefs, which I don't even really know if this man actually believes. I think his main thing is making money off of people who are just really naive. And he knows that this sells. And it did say at the end, closer to the end of this, that his LinkedIn profile showed that he had a background in sales. And if you're a salesperson, you got to be good at selling things, even if it isn't good things, and if it isn't, things that are worth anything. And so it did mention that he had a background in that. And so if he's, it says false expertise. A problematic aspect of Samuel's premise is the fact that he's claiming expertise on a topic that he clearly is unqualified to address. According to his LinkedIn profile, he studied chemical engineering and he had a series of sales roles, and in the and before becoming this image consultant. And so this is the thing: if you're a salesperson, you sell things that even aren't good for people, that don't work, or maybe don't are not going to serve a good purpose for people. But as long as you make that money, and that's your main goal, is to line your pockets. And so that's what he's doing. He's selling you something that is extremely toxic, and you have to be able to be smart enough to read between the lines and decipher for yourself if this is any good, if this is anything going to come good out of any of this. Um, and so if you look at any of these videos, just remember it. This is an opinion piece right here. And in my opinion, I agree with this opinion piece in particular because it is dangerous. We have a lot of people on YouTube who have different ways. And I feel like it's sad putting down black females. And so that's the reason why we have these people that are on here doing this. Their main goal is making money and lining their pockets, and in doing so, they're selling out the very women that fight for them. When we see all these police shootings and men getting killed by cops, and there's this huge outcry to protect black males, who do you see coming to the forefront? The mothers, the daughters, the sisters, the aunties, and you see all of the very women that he claims that you know need to follow white women's lead. But who's shooting these males? Who's killing them? And so this is the thing. And so this is extremely dangerous that this man is doing this. But anyway, I feel like his main goal is to make money. And he's selling you something, and it isn't good what he's selling. And I wouldn't suggest that you buy it. So in having said that, I'm going to let this video go. What are your thoughts? Everybody has opinions. Thank you for listening.